Okay, so we are going to look at how to multiply or divide even when we have positive and negatives. So let's look at the steps first. Step 1, you're just going to multiply or divide normally, but then since there can be negatives, there's a second step. Step 2 is to figure out if the answer would be positive or negative. And what you have to remember is that every time you see two negative signs, they're going to cancel. If you have one negative sign, it'll stay negative. Okay, so let's look at some. It'll make more sense once we start doing it. Okay, so let's say we have -3 times -5. Okay, first step, multiply or divide normally. So we're going to go ahead and do 3 times 5, which is 15. That part should be very simple. But the second part is figuring out whether it's positive and negative. Now, do we have two negative signs? Yes. So they will cancel out. And since they cancel out, I'll go ahead and do that for you. Let's just cross that out. So since the negative signs cancel, and there's no other negative signs left, the answer is going to stay 15. Okay? Now that's one where, since there's two negative signs, it cancels, it stays positive. Let's look at another one. What if we had -2.3 times 5? Make it black here. Okay. So -2.3 times 5. First step, multiply or divide normally. If you went ahead and did 2.3 times 5, you should get 11.5. Is that right? Yeah. Okay, and this time, are there two negatives to cancel out? No. So if you have one negative, it'll stay because you can't cancel it out. So the answer would be -11.5. Okay, so let's go ahead and, right, since it's one negative, it'll stay negative, so -11.5. Okay, let's do another one here. What if we had fractions? So what if I had -20 over 4. Okay, let's go ahead and solve this. Now remember that a fraction really means we're dividing. It means the top divided by the bottom. So 20 divided by 4 is 5. And how many negative signs? 1. I can't cancel it out because there's nothing to cancel it out with. So it'll stay -5. Okay. Now, what if I had one that, let's look at this case. So let's say we had like -3 parentheses, -5 parentheses, -7. Now that time, let's talk about what this means. Again, let me make it normal color. So, first we still multiply or divide normally. Numbers next to parentheses mean we're multiplying. 3 times 5 is 15. 15 times 7 would be 105. Okay, so that's just multiplying normally. But now we got to decide what sign it'll be. Remember, two negatives are going to cancel out. So I'm going to cancel out the first two negatives. And since I have one negative left, the answer is actually going to be -105. This a little bit. There you go. Okay, so two negatives always cancel, but if you're left with one negative, it's going to stay negative. I'm trying to think of, okay, let's do one more example here. So let's say I have, 3/5 divided by 7, -7. First step is to multiply or divide normally. With division, we got to make sure we turn into any mixed or whole numbers to improper. So 7 is going to turn into 7/1. We keep our negatives. Next step with division of fractions is keep, change, and flip. Now we get to multiply across. So we get 3/35. This cannot be simplified because the top is smaller. Oh, sorry, keep my negatives. The top is smaller, so it stays. We can't do a big division problem because top is smaller than the bottom. And there's no number that divides evenly out of both. So there's nothing to simplify it with. But now we got to decide, it's going to be positive or negative. Since I have two negative signs, again, they're going to cancel. There's no negatives left. So it will stay 3/35. Okay, so when you're multiplying or dividing, make sure that you're always multiplying or dividing normally. And then step 2, two negative signs always cancel. If you're left with one negative, it stays negative. If you're all out of negatives, it'll be positive.